Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of TADTalk. Well, I am excited about today's show, that is for sure, as will many of my friends over in the UK. Joining me in the studio is Nick, my son over here, and I've got to tell you, this episode is about football, the real football, the one where you get a ball, a ball, and kick it with your foot. That's it, the real stuff. This man knows nothing about it and gives me crap about it all the time. But joining us on the show today, as you can see from the photos behind me, is, well, he's a legend. Check out this video.
We were actually on the club coach and we saw their helicopter because the cameras were on it, and we actually saw their helicopter flying in above us. Like, we said, wouldn't it be a laugh now if the thing fell out of the sky? What would we do for the afternoon?
Fortunately, the Seagulls had landed, and Manchester United were in for an extremely busy and eventful afternoon.
Jimmy Amelia on the far side, still without a contract, and big Rod Atkinson, party to one of the toughest contracts in football, because it demands that he brings a major trophy to Manchester United. And Case through the middle for Michael Robinson. Can he beat Moran? He can. Can he beat McQueen? He can. There's somebody to his right. It's Smith, and Bailey is saved. What an amazing opportunity for Brighton to win the cup, and how sadly wasted.
And I'm looking, I thought, I don't believe this. We've been pipped for the league. We've been pipped in extra time for the League Cup. And we're going to get done with the last kick of the season. I really couldn't believe it when all of a sudden Gary Bailey said he saved it, but somehow I think he sat on it.
Alston again, low in for Davis, who've got a good position. Robson! That's the goal that Manchester United wanted from their captain. Oh, McQueen was doing some climbing there, surely. This is Davis. Turned it in for Whiteside.
Oh no, Whiteside scored. You do know what this means.
And you can throw the comics away now, because this fellow at just 18 has put the fiction writers out of business. Muren takes the kick. And the header by Robson finds Stapleton. McQueen made a touch, and it's been thrown in. Gets his second, and Manchester United's third. Now, Arnold Muren hasn't taken a penalty before for either Ipswich or Manchester United, but he scores with his left foot and makes it 4-0. So
it's Neville. It's York. He miscued.
Tell you what, if they can equalise, and I'm not betting against them, I think they'll win this. They're going to win it.
Sancho! Is this their moment? Beckham into Sheringham, and Solskjaer has won it!
Well, it certainly is an amazing video, an amazing guest. Welcome, a special guest today, Big Ron Atkinson. How are you, Ron?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, good.
Great to have you on the show. So I need to explain to you a little bit about why Ron Atkinson is on TADTalk, okay? So I'm from Manchester originally, moved over to the States. I've been here 20 years now, and I am a freaking lunatic Manchester United fan. This guy here is my son, and he has no clue about football whatsoever.
I have to admit, because I'm excited, because my dad's excited, because this is his thing. He's obsessed with everything to do with football. But because I know really little and to nothing about it, my dad came running into me one day. He's like, "Oh, you'll never guess who we got on TADTalk." I said, "Who?" And he said, "Ron Atkinson." I said, "Rowan Atkinson, the guy who played Mr. Bean?"
You thought it was Mr. Bean, didn't you?
Oh my gosh! But no, yeah. I'm really excited for this one, actually, to especially watch you just fangirl.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, it's not Rowan Atkinson, it's Ron Atkinson, manager of many teams, Manchester United from 1981 to 1986. Set the world alight with West Bromwich Albion. Before that, you have no clue who West Bromwich Albion are.
What?
And of course, Aston Villa. So, Ron, thanks again for joining us on the show today.
Pleasure. And you've got to educate your lad.
Oh, I've tried, trust me. You see,
In all fairness, there's some great sports, loads of great sports. There is none better than, as you might call it, soccer, but the proper name is football, and it's proper football.
I don't know.
Greatest sport in the world.
Curling is up there. Curling is up there.
And Gaelic football, yeah.
well, I've taken him to Old Trafford a couple of times. He's watched a few games there. I said there's nothing like having a bovril and a meat pie, which I'm not sure you can get these days, and watching United. But he's been there a few times. But Ron, you took over from United, from Dave Sexton at United, and for 5 years, in my opinion, set the world alight, winning the FA Cup in '83 and '85. What if someone was to ask you to bring back a memory of those two wins? What are the first things that come to your mind?
The first one was against Brighton when we were big favourites, and I can always remember, and it's become a little bit of folklore now in England, when in the closing, virtually the last minute of the game, their player broke forward, and in commentary, I think the guy's gone in commentary, has gone, and Smith must score.
Yeah.
My thought was, as that was happening, we'd lost the league, we'd lost the runners-up spot with the last kick of the season. We had been beaten in the other cup final by Liverpool with the last kick of extra time. And my first thought, I don't believe this. Not again, not away. Can we get the ball on the centre circle and kick off and shoot straight from the kick-off and maybe equalise?
Right.
Fortunately, as now written in, particularly in Brighton's history, Smith didn't score. And then we went on and romped the replay. We won the replay 4-0.
Yeah, 4-0.
You know, we did what we should have done. But the second one, it's strange. Even when you're a big favourite, when your team's a big favourite, you're never sure. I've only really ever been sure in my life of two results. One, when I was manager of Sheffield Wednesday, we played, ironically enough, Manchester United at Wembley in the final.
Yeah.
And I knew we would win. I just knew we would win. But the second one was when I was at Manchester United and Kevin Moran got sent off. First man in history to get sent off in a cup final. And it meant we're going to have to play an hour now with a man short. And I always remember my assistant manager, Mick Brown, turning around and saying, we have to hang on for a draw. I said, Mick, we'll do them. We don't hang on, we go at them still. We will win this game. I just knew we would win it, even with a man short. And that's how it turned out when Whiteside scored what is still one of the best ever Wembley goals.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've got goosebumps just thinking about it now. It's amazing. I just going back to the Brighton final, when Smith, if I remember rightly, the ball actually was going under Gary Bailey's, under his body, and he just kind of stopped it. Is that right?
He more or less sat on it. He didn't save it. He sat on the ball.
Yeah.
And I must admit, I couldn't believe it that he hadn't gone in. And, you know, I was saying, never waste good luck, and we didn't. We went on and beat them quite comfortably in the replay. In the replay, yeah.
Yeah.
But it would have been a travesty because we were much the better side in that game as well.
Well, I mean, just talking from a fan's point of view, I know that the days preceding you with Dave Sexton and Franco Farrell, they were really kind of bleak days. I think it was bleak days for football too, with the whole hooliganism thing. And you brought an excitement to United that I always feel, even though Sir Alex took over from you and obviously did what he did, a couple of results going a couple of different ways, like you say, with the league, and things could have been so different. Yeah, you had some exciting stuff going on there.
Yeah, we had a team. The one thing no one could ever take away is the way we played. We played in an exciting fashion, which by and large has always been my sort of way of wanting to play. You can't always play that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to defend. But I wanted my teams to be full of, if you like, skill, but full of aggressive skill. I loved aggression as well. I loved going at teams, and we had some fine players. One big problem we did have in those days, you didn't carry the size of squads people carry today.
Yeah.
And subsequently, we had major players. I remember the year we got away to a flyer. We had 5 key players, including, for me at the time, the best player in Europe, Brian Robson, being out for sort of a few months, and we didn't just stick a ready-made player in there. We had to put younger players in, playing the reserve team. But that was the way it was. This isn't a complaint; it's fact.
Yeah.
But I think if several of those top players hadn't got injured, I certainly think we'd have won at least 2 championships.
No, without I totally agree. And you talking about football. I know that when you think about it these days, because I've been talking about United possibly signing Jordan Sancho.
Oh yeah,
for something crazy like 120 million. Well, when Ron bought Brian Robson, I think it was about $1.5 million or 2 million or something, wasn't it?
It was 1.5 million. I'll tell you a little story about that. I went to the board and said, and the board were very supportive, to be fair, in that respect. And Sir Matt Busby, who was on the board at the time, he resigned, because of the amount of money we had to pay for Robson. It wasn't an acrimonious thing. He said, I can no longer come to terms with what's going on in the game when, people will pay $1.5 million for a player.
Wow. Because
I remember prefixing my talk to the board saying, this isn't even a gamble. You're buying pure gold.
Yeah.
And which, as it turned out to be right. I just wonder sometimes what Sir Matt might think when he sees 90 million being spent on a player now and all that.
Crazy, isn't it?
I think he'd be turning over in his grave.
Oh, absolutely. And, when just talking about Sir Matt, when Sir Matt passed away and we had that presentation at Old Trafford, I cried like a baby. It was insane.
He was a lovely man. People said, what was he like? I think maybe one or two of my predecessors may have felt him looking at the shoulder. I would always tap him for advice. If I saw him, I'd invite him into the office. Come and have a cup of tea. How do you think? What do you think? And, I've never been afraid, to use experienced people.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people get frightened of that now. I didn't. I was always on the lookout for people with know-how and knowledge and tapping into them.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, when you reflect on the time that you came in, what you were taking over from, and the fact that one of the greatest teams managed by Paisley, you had that to overcome. So such a mammoth task and difficult time. And like I said, you go in there and you win a couple of FA Cups and so close to the league. Yeah,
the deaf thing was, I think I've got some sort of record at Anfield in that period. I think we played Liverpool. And in my time, I always say this to people, in my time, not only did you have to be the best in England, you had to be the best in Europe. Because by and large, whoever won our league, all right, Nottingham Forest under Clough won it a couple of times. Liverpool, I think it was 3 times. Even Aston Villa won it.
Yeah.
And so you had really, because there was only one as well. There was only one team qualified then. A bit different to nowadays. But when I went there, I said to Martin Edwards, the chairman, I said, we've got to become a European side again. Because after they won it in 68,
yeah,
I think United had only qualified for European competitions 3 times. Now, we'd had 3 years at West Brom where we qualified every year. And I made that the first priority. We have got to qualify for European competitions every year, which we subsequently did.
Yeah.
Until Heischel, of course, when it all got stopped.
Exactly, yeah, we were meant for Europe for so long. And you just touched on West Brom. The work you did at West Brom prior to United was in many ways gets written off as forgotten about, but it was stunning what you did at West Brom and what you achieved, frankly.
Yeah, we had some good times. We had a smashing team.
Yeah, exciting.
Once again, the motto was, I used to say to the team, entertain me. Just entertain me, because if you do, the fans will love it.
Oh, it's amazing.
That's what we tried to do. I mean, we had a spell. The one Christmas, we were on top of the league. We won at United 5. We beat Arsenal, who were unbeaten virtually at home. And we beat Valencia, knocked Valencia out of the UEFA Cup. And then we got held up for 6 weeks by the big freeze. there was no under soil heating then or anything. And subsequently, we lost a lot of ground and we had to play. And it's interesting to listen to the teams now that have had to come back after COVID and that. We had to play 11 games in 25 days with virtually the same team.
Wow.
We might have made one or two changes, but I can remember us going to Belgrade in the quarterfinal of the UEFA Cup and not having enough players to fill the substitutes bench.
Oh, it's crazy.
That's how it was in those days. You just got on with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely different times. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, well, a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to bring Nick into the conversation, and just let's see how much Nick really knows about football.
I actually do. When we come back, I do have an actual football question.
Okay.
A good one too.
Okay,
so
good.
Be ready for that.
I'm also going to test Ron's memory, which could be a big flop here, because Ron and I actually did spend about 6 hours together in 1982, and he has no idea what I'm talking about. But after the break, we'll come back and let you know. We'll see you in a short while. And we're back with part 2 of TAD Talk with special guest Ron Atkinson. All right, Ron, I'm going to take you back to 1982. England were in the World Cup, and we're in Spain, and there's Continental Hotel. And next door to Continental Hotel, there's a smaller hotel called the Bell Playa Hotel. Do you have any recollection of that at all?
I think that might be the time where I can remember the Dunstable, a non-league club, being in that hotel.
Yeah.
And my daughter was quite young at the time, coming in saying, "Dad, there's a football team in there. And they tell me there's a very good player called Kerry Dixon who was playing for them." And within about a week, he'd gone on to Reading, and then made quite a very good career playing for England and Chelsea and that. But there was this fella, a right nose, I can't think of his name, Manchester boy, kept me chattering for ages. And almost to the extent that I was going to get a private jet out and come home.
Well, here's the story. Joe Rubido was the manager there. And let me see, how old was I? I think I was 23, 24. And what is now my wife, who we weren't together at that time, and we were the entertainment team.
What is now your wife?
Well, yeah, who is now my wife? And your mom. We were both there entertaining. We weren't an item at the time. And Joe was our boss. And it was 1982, and the World Cup was there. And there were so many people from the football world, and you were one of them. So I wish I could bring Joe on right now. I don't know if you spoke to Joe recently, but Joe's still alive and kicking and doing so well.
The last time I saw Joe Rubido, and it was just after I'd finished in Madrid, and I'd gone back to do some business, obviously to tidy my contract and so forth. And we're in the middle of Madrid. We're playing in the European Cup that night, so we've been to the game. And ironically enough, I've been with Laurie Cunningham, who a month later, unfortunately, got killed in a car crash.
Yeah.
So I've come back into the hotel to go up to my room, getting a lift. Who should be in there but Joe Rubido? Joe was in there with us. And that would be the last time I saw him. But if ever they had a film, you wouldn't get away with it now. But when all the footballers used to stay at the Continental, it was a recognised thing. And we'd play for the hotel team.
Yeah.
It'd be myself, people like Joe Royal, John Bond, Kevin Bond.
Yeah.
And you did have a team of virtually full professionals playing anybody that was there, the holiday makers and that. And we used to play on a piece of wasteland that anybody could have broke a leg quite easily.
I I was telling someone the story this morning of that when, and to be honest, I don't remember most of it because most of it we were so drunk that we barely.
Through a blur. A lot of it was through a blur. I would accept that. Yeah.
But Kevin Bond, we hung out with a lot. I know we played. I think it was Peter Shilton, Paul Walsh, a couple of other people where we'd go out and play. But what you don't remember, Ron, is that we'd chat and I'd be bugging you as well for a period of time. But I, in my young, naive way, I said, "Hey, Ron, is there any way you could get me a Brian Robson shirt?" And I, because of you, am now still the owner of a number 7 England shirt signed by Brian Robson.
Robbo.
So, and I still have it. So thank you.
Yeah, good lad. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. All right.
People, you just mentioned a name there. People say to me, "Who was the best player you ever worked with?" And I've been lucky. I've worked with some terrific players and terrific blokes, by the way, some great people. But by a distance, Robbo was the best. He was the best. I've only ever seen, I was asked this question last week up in Manchester. Is he the best in his position you've ever seen? I said, no, he's the second best. The best I've ever seen was a lad named Duncan Edwards, who unfortunately got killed in the plane crash.
Yeah.
But the nearest to Duncan Edwards was Robbo. Yeah.
People say that all the time. So my dad, who's passed away now, my dad was a big United fan, of course, and he used to always talk about the 58 team. But whenever we talk about that team, he said, yeah, but you had to see the 48 team. The 48 team was something special. I know very little.
They weren't bad, but they weren't as good as any team that had Duncan Edwards in.
Yeah.
Only needed 3 other players.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie that's simply called United? It's with David Tennant playing Jimmy Murphy. It's about the disaster.
Yeah, I think I have. Where he go? They show a lot of the back streets of Manchester in it. I've seen one movie with.
Yeah,
that must be the one I've seen. Yeah.
Really well made.
Yeah.
I tell Nick about Duncan, and I never saw him. I've seen grainy footage of him, but yeah. So I'd love to do this with you, Ron, if you're up for it. I'd like to pick our best 11 from anyone who's ever played in England. Don't have to be English, but have got to played in the First Division or the Premiership. We've got to pick one team. Who's the goalie?
Tight one. I mean, he's taken a bit of flack this year, but I think De Gea was as good as any keeper. But, he has taken a little bit of stick. His mistakes have been magnified this year.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one, I'd probably go... I think I'd go for one of the English boys. I think I'd go for Banks. I'd go Gordon Banks. Yeah, I'd go Gordon Banks. You could have Shilton, you could have Clements, you could have Schmeichel, De Gea.
Yeah.
Anyone. We had some great keepers, but I've never seen one better than Banksy.
No, he's amazing. That save from Pele in the World Cup was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Who's your goalkeeper in the team?
Steve Riley.
Okay, moving on. All right, who are we having at left back?
Left back, you know what? In England, we've been spoilt with left backs. We've had great left backs.
Yeah.
Even the likes of Ashley Cole, Pierce. We had a terrific player at West Brom named Derek Statham, who got 5 caps, should have got 100. Terry Cooper was a terrific player. I would just about shade it and go Ray Wilson. Yeah, Ray Wilson I'd go for. Quick, great defender. Yeah.
He played in the 66 World Cup, right, Ray Wilson?
That's right, yeah. Terrific player. Along in the back 4, I'm biased here, and I don't care. I would have my centre half would be Paul McGrath.
Yeah.
I took as a boy from Ireland and became a terrific player, a legend certainly at Aston Villa, where they still chant his name every game now, and he's been finished over 10 years. So he would be centre half alongside, particularly if the game was played at Wembley, it would have to be Bobby Moore.
Wow, what a player, yeah.
At Wembley, it'd have to be, because Bobby Moore was was made to play at Wembley.
What's your opinion of Van Dijk? Different era, I know, but
I loved Mary
quality player.
Poppins. Mary Poppins was great. He was great in Chitty Chitty Bang
Not
Bang.
Dick Van Dyke. I'm talking Virgil Van Dijk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I was just about to say he was quite good with Mary Tyler Moore. Dick Van Dyke's a great, super player. Yeah, he's a very good player. You know, they've had good centre halves. Lawrenson was very good. Hansen. You talk to a lot of the ex-Liverpool lads, and they all swear by Hansen.
Right.
But Paul McGrath was quicker than anybody gave him credit for. And alongside, I mean, Bobby Moore was immaculate.
Yeah.
He was, particularly in the big games.
Yeah.
Bobby Moore.
So many players. Is that right back?
Right full back. It would be a bit toss-up. I think Gary Neville would come close. Gary Neville would be in the frame. Zabaleta at Man City, the Zabaleta, he would be in the frame. Jimmy Armfield would be in the frame. I think out of all those, playing at his best, I think I'd have Zabaleta. I think I would just about have him. But Gary Neville, I think, has been the best right back at United since probably Johnny Carey, who played in that 48
team, yeah.
Yeah, 48 team. Midfield, I would have in the wide areas that have played in the Premiership. I'd have Ronaldo in one wide area and George Best and the other position.
And Robbo?
I'd have Robbo and Duncan Edwards in the middle of midfield.
Wow.
I'd have Bobby Charlton playing off a striker. Now, this is where it's going to be hard. Somehow or other, you feel you've got to get Dennis Law in there, but Nat Lofthouse, Stanley Mortensen,
Jimmy Greaves,
Jeff Hurst, of course. Jeff was a good leader of the line. I think Dalglish, Shearer,
Lineker.
Do you know what? Lineker, yeah. But I think I would go as an out-and-out front player for Ian Rush. Ian Rush would just about shade it. But somehow I wouldn't have a good subs bench, by the way, with the Lawman and Dalglish and people like that. But I think off the top of my head, that would be the side I would and I'd want to watch them as well.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, they'd be worth watching.
Yeah.
But there's been some great players over the years. Great. Everybody thinks football was invented when the Premiership was bought out. And you look back, and I look at some, because of this pandemic, they've been showing a lot of old games.
Yeah.
Played on right mud heaps. Right, the pitches were awful. You see a pitch today, it's like a carpet. Yep. You see pitches in there. You wouldn't put hippopotamuses in them and things like that. But that's what makes the quality of some of those players terrific. Because you see pictures of George Best. You never see him on a perfect pitch. You see him sliding through mud, taking man after man on, beating people, and still producing a level of skill which you think, well. And the ball was nowhere near as light as it is.
No, exactly.
The boots and the equipment, and you see him there, and you think, well, how could I'd like to see a modern player have to play in those conditions just once, just to say, go on, let's see what you can do.
No, absolutely.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think we may have lost your video feed, but we can still hear you, so we're going to just keep going with it, Ron.
I did have a question.
Yeah, what's your football question?
Okay, so it is a good one. I promise you.
Okay.
So when you were manager of United and when Sir Alex Ferguson was manager of United, I think it's safe to say that United was pretty unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like they were incredible. They're still a great team. I think right now they're slowly dwindling a little bit. They're still a great team. Calm down. They're still a great team. But if you had the chance to, first part of the question is, what is your opinion of the current state of the team? And if you could sit down with the team, the players and the management, what would you say to them?
Right now?
Right now.
Go on, Ron. I'll let you take that before I beat him up.
Yeah. I did a lot of their TV work, and at times you're not wrong. Since Sir Alec finished, there's been some very, very ordinary performances. What I think Ollie's done, he came in, he's got the players back on side. The team at the moment does need reinforcing, but his signings have been good. The young lad at right full back, he signed a good player.
Yeah.
He signed a good year. He signed, he's having his problems at the moment, but Maguire's a good centre-half. Mm-hmm. And they're good people that will fight and compete. But the biggest influence of all that, it's been a long time since I've seen one man make that difference. Since they signed Fernandos, the whole thing's gone out the window. They've gone unbelievable.
Yeah.
Fernandos has turned them around from being a top 7 team to being, I think they'll be challengers next season.
Yeah.
Through him. And what I like about him, he's a very direct, he's a very positive. His first thought is to attack the opposition. And he looks as if he enjoys playing. I love that. I love players with great enthusiasm for the game. I love it when they display that enthusiasm. And in all fairness, he does that. He really does. And he excites you. I almost would have voted him Footballer of the Year. And he's only played half a season.
Exactly.
The impact he's had has been amazing. Amazing. And if he can continue that, and all he can get, I think United need, I'd like to see them sign a recognised centre forward. You know, they keep talking about Greenwood, who's going to be a super player, by the way. Rashford and Martial, 3 good young players who've come on at the back end of the season, particularly, I think, through the influence of Fernandes. But I'd like to see them, if they could sign, and I don't know who it would be, if they could get, say, the likes of when they signed Van Nistelrooy.
Like a Harry Kane.
When they signed Van Persie, that sort. Whether they would get Harry Kane, I'm not sure. That I don't think Jose would let him go to United. No. But the one I would like to have seen them have a go for would have been the boy at Arsenal, Aubameyang.
Yeah.
I think he would fit. I think, there was a suggestion he might just be thinking of moving.
Saw that.
And he might have been. I'd love to have seen him in a United shirt.
Yeah. So to answer your question,
so that was a very respectable answer, and now there may be some cuss words coming from him as he responds to that question.
We struggled for whatever reason with Van Gaal, and we struggled with Moyes, who probably wasn't given enough time. Okay. So United have been going like this, but United are going back. We're back like this right now, and we really are on the climb. The last 14 games unbeaten at the end of the year. And with Ron, we just need someone to lead that line with a bit of experience, and I think we need someone else in that back four. I think they're going to sign Van Beek, or they've already signed Van Beek.
They've signed him, I think, today. I think he's had his medical today, but he's going to be more of a midfield player.
Yeah.
I mean, I had big doubts about Lindelof, I must admit, and I still, to a certain extent, do. The one I liked was Bailly.
Yeah,
I thought Eric Bailly was a good player, but injuries has held him back. He's had his problems. He's never been fit. When he first came in, I thought he looked a proper centre-half. Tough, because I still like centre-halves that have got that physical ability, that can intimidate the opposition centre-forward.
Definitely.
People talk about centre-halves getting on the ball and playing. That's a bonus. Your first job as a central defender is to defend your goal and make sure the opposition don't fancy coming into the penalty box. And Eric Bailly looked to me as if he was going to be that type of defender. He might still come good, but he does seem to pick up too many leg injuries as well, which is not too clever.
Definitely. Yeah. Before we close out the show, I talked a little bit before about the time that neither Ron or I remember very well, which is the 6 hours or so in Torremolinos. But there was one other time in history that, apart from marrying my wife and the day my son was born, was the greatest night of my life. And it was in Barcelona in 1999. Now, Ron, I'm guessing you were probably in line with the the centre line, and you were probably up in the commentary box. I was 10 rows behind the goal that Solskjaer scored in. I'll never forget. I think you said something like, they must be playing defence because Schmeichel's not coming up. Is that right?
I think I did, actually. But the comment I can remember mainly, I mean, let's be honest, Bayern were much the better side.
Yeah.
Much the better side that night, albeit Scholes and Keane weren't playing, which was a big out for United. But I think it's about the 86th minute of that game, the big centre forward, they had a big centre forward, Carl Janker, great big gang, hit an overhead kick that hit the bar.
Yeah.
And I actually remember saying on commentary, that might be the moment United win the European Cup.
I remember it.
Yeah. But you mentioned another. People talk to me about games you've been involved in, and you've just reminded me there with the Barcelona thing. People also talk about atmospheric grounds. The best atmosphere I've ever been involved with in any match anywhere was the night at Old Trafford when we played Barcelona.
Yeah.
We were 2 down from the first leg. They had Maradona playing, they had Schuster, the great German player, and we were 2 down. And I remember Martin Edwards saying before the game, you will hear a noise tonight like you've never heard before. And he was spot on. The noise at Old Trafford that night was unbelievable. It was like a shrill. And we scored 3 goals. Brian Robson got 2. Got carried off shoulder high. And it was an unbelievable night. It really was. And people today, Bobby Charlton, I remember saying, he'd never known an atmosphere like it.
It's incredible.
Peter Reid was at the game as a fan, and the lads were telling me he was up on the seat shouting and cheering, and they were one of our biggest rivals.
There's nothing quite like when you're those European nights at Old Trafford. And when it's in your blood, people ask me, getting serious a sec, why is it so important? It's a game, and it's hard to. But the only thing I can equate it to is religion. My dad took me to my first game in '67. It was Everton at home. It was 0-0. I was 8 years of age, and it's the only thing in life apart from my family that I am completely obsessed with. Someone says to me, "What do you want for Christmas?" Just get me another United shirt.
You must be very wealthy then.
Yeah, no kidding. It's great. It's crazy. So it's amazing for me. I'm so obsessed with all things United. So it's been definitely my pleasure and honor to be able to have you on the show, Ron. It's been phenomenal. What have you learned about football today?
I learned some new names.
Okay.
I've already forgotten those names, but I learned them at the time.
Yes.
No, this was awesome. I loved seeing you two just banter about it. I mean, I felt like I was in first grade listening to someone go off about something I had no clue about. Some higher form of math that I wouldn't learn until college. But it's been great listening to you two.
It's amazing. The 80s, like I say, 81 to 86 were great years, and for any United fan, so many fond memories. Obviously, through our history of United, if you're in my age bracket, you've got Sir Alex, you've got Big Ron, you've got Sir Matt, and it really goes like that. You've got the three big guys that you really follow, and hopefully now Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will follow in the footsteps.
Yeah.
Ron, I think
there'll be challenges next season.
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll ask you to come back on the show as champions next year. That would be
no problem.
That would be nice. We have one question, Ron, that's not football related, that we ask every single guest on TADTalk, and this is what it is. It's a kind of a fantasy question. If you were able to spend the next 60 minutes with any person, dead or alive, it could be someone you know or have known, family, it could be celebrities, it could be historical figures, and go somewhere in the world, who would you like to spend the next 60 minutes with? Where are you going to go with them, and what are you going to talk about?
I'd say three people.
Okay.
I'd say three.
All right.
I'd go Frank Sinatra,
Yeah.
Dean Martin,
Yeah.
and Jack Nicklaus.
Oh, wow.
I thought for sure Sammy Davis Jr. was going to come up there. The
No,
dynamic
Sammy
trio.
could take us there. Sammy, yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's great. So you're a big Sinatra fan?
Oh, yeah. See, I am actually, when was it? The night before the World Cup final in America.
Yeah.
He was in the, was it? I think it was the Dodgers Stadium. We went to see the three tennis concerts. And we're walking around at the start, myself and a TV presenter. And all of a sudden, I actually bumped into, I just looked at him. I could not believe it. Sinatra.
Wow.
Because you always imagine him to have a massive entourage around him, and he didn't.
Wow.
So I put that, funnily enough, we're discussing it today, a little group of us. Go on, name the three most famous people you've met. And I've said Sinatra. I've gone Sinatra. I met Muhammad Ali in Birmingham. And I think top of the list would be Nelson Mandela, because we went on a tour just after the he'd been made the inauguration and that. So I've always said, left school at 15, never worked since.
Who's the most famous person you've met?
Oh, gosh, that's a question and a half.
Ron Atkinson.
Ron Atkinson's in there now.
Rowan Atkinson.
Ron's in there now. It's hard to say. I mean, there are so many famous people that I've met in the music industry.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Probably, gosh, I don't know. Probably Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond. That's cool.
In the music.
Good show.
Long time ago. Barry Manilow, you know that. Before we go, I'm going to wrap this up real quick. I met. I was in LA airport in the American Airlines lounge about a year and a half ago. And I wanted to go into a quiet section. There was a football game on. I wanted to try and find it and work a little bit on the computer. And I go into this room, and there's two people in there, me and this bloke who was in front of me. He turned around, and it's Ibrahimovic. He was sat right in front of me, Zlatan. It was Zlatan. He was playing for LA. And I went, oh, crap. So I said, Zlatan, could I get a photo with you? So took a selfie, and he says, where's the accent? I said, it's from Manchester. Oh, you're a real fan then. And so I spent 15 minutes talking with Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and he would not talk about football. He just wanted to talk about what I did. He was a brilliant, he was a fantastic person.
I must admit, when he came to United, I used to say, if I had somebody to score a goal or take a chance, it would be him.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
He didn't miss many,
No.
If they give him a chance, he scored.
Yeah.
And he had a great quote, when he was 17, and he was a kid in Sweden, and Arsene Wenger took him to Arsenal and asked him to have a trial. 17-year-old kid at the Arsenal.
Wow. With
Arsene Wenger, who just won everything. And he said, Zlatan does not do auditions.
Did he really?
He went home and signed for Ajax. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. Actually, I'm going to tell you the answer to your question. It's not the most famous person, but it's the one person I've ever met where I was speechless. And it was the 2 days after Man United beat Liverpool in the FA Cup final, 1-0. Eric Cantona scored the winner. And I was doing some entertaining stuff, so I got to go and be part of the players' dinner at Old Trafford the day after, 2 days after.
Yeah.
And I had my picture taken with the FA Cup, and I wanted to meet Cantona, and didn't. And was hanging out with everybody else, with Bex and Neville and all this lot. And then, can't remember his name now, the guy who was organising the event said, you can come with me now and have your picture taken with the FA Cup. And I got round the corner, and Eric Cantona was there. I want to say Eric Cantona was there. Eric Cantona was here. He's a massive man, enormous person. And I was speechless. I couldn't, that was it,
Yeah. You're right. you just reminded me of another story. Cantona, in the World Cup in '94, was working for, I think it was Canal Plus.
Yeah.
And I'm just walking up, it was in Pasadena. I'm just walking up to my commentary position, and I see Eric come running down, and I've gone, and I'm sort of waving, hello, Eric, hello, Eric, hello, Eric, hello. And he's gone straight past me, run across the temporary bridge, dived into a caravan, into a Winnebago. All of a sudden, there's about 7 or 8 armed guards come running. They're trying to catch him. Apparently, when he got up to his commentary position, somebody was in it and he chinned them. and the state troopers or whatever they are all started legging it after him.
Oh.
And I saw him go in there. I'm watching, and I see him go into this Winnebago and lock the door, and they all went flying off in different directions. Like, yeah, I don't think he went to the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Ron, it's been brilliant.
Great player.
Yeah, such an impact player for those years at United. Thanks so much for being on the show. This has been it's been a personal blast for me. I've had a ball talking. I could stay here all day, but thank you so much. For me, you're definitely a legend in the game. You've done so much for the game, not only on the field as a player and a manager, but off the field in everything you do. And it's been my pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us on the show. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Thanks for watching TAD Talk, everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Hasta la próxima.